The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. 347 species had gathered for an emergency meeting, and not a single representative looked calm. Ambassador Zelthar stood at the center platform, his crystalline body refracting the soft blue lights in anxious patterns. "Order, please," Zelthar called out, his voice translator working overtime as hundreds of different languages filled the air. "We must discuss the matter at hand." A furry delegate from the Piffin system raised a small paw. "Is it true? Have we really been contacted by predators?" The word sent a wave of fear through the chamber. Predators. The council had existed for 2,000 years in perfect peace, partly because every single member species was either an herbivore or a peaceful filter feeder. They ate plants, algae, or filtered nutrients from water and air. The concept of hunting, of killing for food, was something they only knew from ancient history lessons about the dark times before civilization. Zelthar dimmed his inner light, the equivalent of a tired sigh. Not exactly predators. They call themselves humans. They are omnivores from a planet called Earth. "Omnivores?" squeaked a small, rabbit-like alien. "So they eat plants and meat?" According to their transmissions, yes. The chamber erupted in panic. Several delegates fainted. Others made distressed sounds in frequencies that the translators struggled to interpret. One representative simply rolled into a protective ball and refused to respond. Zelthar let them panic for a moment before activating the chamber's attention signal. A deep gong sound echoed, and slowly the chaos settled. "I understand your fears," Zelthar said calmly. "I reviewed their initial contact message myself. These humans discovered faster-than-light travel only 3 of their years ago. They have been exploring their local space and detected our quantum communication network. They are requesting permission to meet with us and apply for council membership." "Absolutely not," shouted a tall green delegate whose species resembled walking plants. "We should ignore them and hope they go away." "We could quarantine their sector," suggested another. "Market is off-limits for all council vessels." Zelthar had expected these reactions. He had felt the same way when he first read the human message. But as the council's head diplomat, he had done something the others had not. He had researched. "I have reviewed over 300 hours of their public broadcasts," Zelthar announced. The chamber went silent. "And I have concerns." "What kind of concerns?" asked an elderly Voxian whose tentacles trembled slightly. Zelthar activated the main display. Images from Earth began to play. The delegates watched in growing horror as humans engaged in something called sports, where they deliberately crashed into each other. They saw humans fighting in organized combat. They watched news footage of wars, explosions, and destruction. "They fight each other?" someone whispered. "Frequently," Zelthar confirmed. "They have something called martial arts, which are entire systems designed around combat. They train from childhood." More images appeared. Humans kept carnivorous animals in their homes, massive beasts with teeth and claws that could easily kill a human, living side by side with them. The humans called these predators pets and treated them like family members. "This is madness," muttered the Piffin delegate. "Why would they bring predators into their homes?" "They appear to have a strange bonding instinct," Zelthar explained. "They befriend other species, even dangerous ones." A medical officer from the Trill species spoke up. "I analyzed their biological data. The information they provided is disturbing." "Share it," Zelthar said. The medical officer activated his own display. A 3-dimensional image of a human body appeared, rotating slowly. "Note the eyes," the doctor said. "Forward-facing. Classic predator trait. They have binocular vision designed for tracking prey. Their teeth include incisors and canines meant for tearing meat. They have high muscle density and bone strength compared to most council species. Their stamina is remarkable. In ancient times, they hunted by chasing prey until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They ran their food to death?" Someone gasped. "Indeed. And their psychological profile is equally concerning. They have high aggression levels, strong territorial instincts, and something called a fight-or-flight response that makes them extremely dangerous when threatened. Instead of fleeing like sensible beings, roughly half of them choose to fight." The chamber fell into worried silence. Finally, a wise old delegate from the methane breathers spoke. Her species was ancient and had seen many things. "What does your instinct tell you, Zelthar?" she asked. Zelthar thought carefully before answering. "My instinct tells me that if we refuse them, we may create an enemy. But if we welcome them, we might. I do not know what we might create." "You recommend we meet with them?" I recommend we follow council principles, Zelthar said firmly. We have always chosen peace and understanding over fear. For 2,000 years, we have resolved every conflict through dialogue. These humans have not threatened us. They have asked politely to meet. They have provided information about themselves openly. They are following proper first contact protocols. But they are predators, someone cried out. They are sapient beings requesting peaceful contact, Zelthar corrected. Are we so afraid that we abandon our own principles? The question hung in the air. The Galactic Council prided itself on being civilized, peaceful, and welcoming. They had accepted hundreds of species over the millennia. Could they really reject an entire civilization just because they were different? I propose a compromise, said the methane breather elder. We invite them to a formal meeting. But we take precautions, a small delegation only. They must agree to bring no weapons. We increase security even if it is only ceremonial, and we meet them in a neutral space where we can evacuate quickly if needed. Several delegates nodded. It was not ideal, but it was something. All in favor of extending an invitation to the humans, Zelthar called. The vote was close. Many abstained. But in the end, curiosity and principles won over fear. The invitation would be sent. I will lead the diplomatic mission, Zelthar announced. I will meet these humans and determine if they are truly interested in peace. As the meeting adjourned, Zelthar returned to his private office. He sat in his meditation chamber and dimmed his lights to nearly nothing. He was afraid. He would never admit it to the council, but he was terrified. Everything he had seen about humans suggested they were dangerous, aggressive, and unpredictable, but they were also creative, curious, and apparently capable of great kindness. He had seen broadcasts of humans saving each other from disasters, crying over sad stories, and laughing with pure joy. They were contradictions wrapped in flesh and bone. Zelthar activated his communication console and began composing the invitation. He chose his words carefully, emphasizing peace and friendship. He outlined the protocols clearly. No weapons, small delegation, formal dress, a simple meeting to discuss membership and exchange cultures. As he sent the message across the vast distance to Earth, Zelthar made a small prayer to the old gods of his people. Let this be the beginning of friendship, he whispered, and not the end of everything. 3 weeks later, a message came back from Earth. The humans accepted the invitation. They were excited to meet the Galactic Council. They would arrive in 30 days. Zelthar began preparing the station. He increased security, briefed all staff on protocols, and set up emergency evacuation routes. He told everyone it was just procedure, but his lights flickered with anxiety. In 30 days, they would discover what humans were really like. Zelthar hoped they all survived the experience. The docking bay had never looked more beautiful. Zelthar had personally overseen every detail. Banners from all 347 council species hung from the ceiling. Flowers and plants from 100 worlds created a garden of colors that should have been welcoming and peaceful. Musicians from the harmonic species practiced their greeting songs in the corner, but nothing could hide the fear. Over 200 representatives had gathered to witness first contact with humanity. Most of them stood as far back from the docking port as possible. The security team, dressed in their ceremonial armor that had not been worn in actual defense for centuries, looked uncomfortable and nervous. Zelthar checked his chronometer again. The human ship was 3 minutes away. He could see it now on the viewing screens, approaching the station with perfect precision. The ship itself made his lights flicker with concern. It was not elegant like council vessels. Council ships were smooth, rounded, decorated with art and symbols of peace. The human ship was blocky and angular, covered in what looked like armor plating. Dark scorch marks streaked across the hull. To Zelthar's eye, it looked like a vessel built for war. Is that battle damage? Whispered a nervous Piffin standing nearby. I believe those are micrometeorite impacts, Zelthar said, trying to sound calm. Space debris. Why do they not repair the marks? Perhaps they consider them badges of honor? Zelthar was not sure. Nothing about humans made sense yet. The ship had a name painted on its side in bold letters, USS Indomitable. Zelthar had looked up the word. It meant impossible to defeat or destroy. He tried not to think about why humans would name their peaceful diplomatic vessel something so aggressive. The ship docked with a heavy thud that echoed through the bay. Several delegates jumped. The musician stopped playing. Everyone stared at the airlock door, waiting. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a hiss of air. The door began to open. 5 figures emerged from the smoke and steam of the equalizing atmosphere. They were tall, much taller than most species present. They stood straight and moved with a precision that made Zelthar think of trained soldiers. They were dressed in dark blue uniforms covered in insignia, medals, and what looked like military decorations. The human in front was female, according to the biological data Zelthar had studied. She had dark hair pulled back severely, and her uniform was the most decorated. Her eyes, those forward-facing predator eyes, swept across the bay in one smooth motion, seeming to catalog everything and everyone. Behind her, 4 more humans walked in formation. Their boots hit the deck in perfect unison. Thud, thud, thud. The sound echoed in the silent bay. They moved like a hunting pack. The lead human stopped precisely 3 meters from Zelthar. Her companion stopped exactly 1 step behind her, forming a protective formation. She raised her hand in what the database said was a peaceful greeting. Then she smiled. Every delegate within viewing distance saw the same thing. Teeth. Flat ones for grinding, yes, but also sharp ones. Canines designed for tearing meat. A predator's smile. Several smaller species ran for the exits. Epiphany fainted. Greetings, the human said, her voice clear and strong. The translator made her sound even more commanding. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this welcome. Zelthar forced his lights to glow warmly, the equivalent of a smile. Welcome, Ambassador Chen. I am Zelthar, Chief Diplomatic Officer of the Galactic Council. We are pleased to meet you. He did not sound pleased. He sounded terrified, but Chen did not seem to notice. Please call me Sarah, she said and smiled again. More teeth. We brought gifts from Earth, a traditional human gesture of friendship. One of the humans behind her, a massive male with shoulders that seemed impossibly wide, stepped forward carrying a container. He moved with the same controlled precision. Every motion looked efficient, powerful. He set the container down and opened it. Zelthar approached cautiously and looked inside. There were packages of food, bottles of liquids, and several items he did not recognize. He picked up one package carefully. What is this? He asked. Beef jerky, Sarah explained cheerfully. Dried meat. Very popular on Earth. And this? She held up a golden jar. Is honey, made by insects called bees. It is sweet and delicious. Dried meat. Insect vomit. These were the friendship gifts. Zelthar's lights dimmed despite his best efforts to control them. Behind him, he heard several delegates making sounds of disgust. How? Thoughtful? Zelthar managed. Perhaps we can share these later. Of course, Sarah said. Her enthusiasm seemed genuine, which only made it more confusing. She looked around the bay, taking in the decorations. This is beautiful. You really went all out. We wanted you to feel welcome, Zelthar said. Mission accomplished, Sarah replied. She gestured to her team. This is Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, our security specialist. The huge male nodded. Chief Science Officer Dr. Yuki Tanaka. A shorter human with kind eyes bowed slightly. Communications Officer James O'Brien. A red-haired human grinned, showing even more teeth. And our cultural liaison, Dr. Amara Okafor. The last human, a dark-skinned female, smiled gently. Security specialist? Asked a brave council member from the crowd. Standard protocol, Marcus Webb said. His voice was deep and rumbling. The ambassador's safety is our priority. The idea that the ambassador needed armed guards for a peaceful meeting did not comfort anyone. The fact that this huge human probably could tear most of them apart with his bare hands made it worse. Perhaps we could begin the tour, Zelthar suggested, desperate to move things along. Lead the way, Sarah said. As they walked through the station, Zelthar noticed disturbing things. The humans were constantly looking around, their eyes never stopping. They noticed every exit, every security station, every camera. Sarah had called it security awareness, but it looked like threat assessment. They moved as a unit. When Sarah stopped, they all stopped. When she turned, they adjusted their positions to maintain some kind of protective formation. It was seamless, practiced military. Your station is impressive, Sarah said, admiring the architecture. How old is it? Nearly 800 years, Zelthar said proudly. Built to last. Amazing. On Earth, we have structures that old, but they are ruins. We tend to break things. This did not help. They passed by a viewing window showing the planet below. Sarah stopped and stared. Beautiful, she whispered. For a moment, she looked less like a predator and more like someone seeing something wonderful. Dr. Okafor stepped beside her. It reminds me of Earth, Okafor said softly. The blue oceans. Do you miss your home? Zelthar asked before he could stop himself. Sarah turned to him and her expression was genuinely sad. Every single day. I have a dog back home. Max. He's probably wondering where I am. A dog? Zelthar asked, though he already knew the answer. A pet. A companion animal. He is family. Sarah pulled out a small device and showed Zelthar an image. A furry creature with a large mouth and many teeth stared at the camera, tongue hanging out. That is, a predator, Zelthar said carefully. That is my best friend, Sarah corrected gently. He sleeps in my bed. He greets me when I come home. He loves me unconditionally. Zelthar stared at the image. The creature looked like it could kill a human easily, but Sarah spoke of it with such love that he felt confused. We should continue, Zelthar said. They walked toward the main council chamber. Behind them, the gathered delegates whispered nervously among themselves. The humans had been polite, even friendly, but everything about them screamed danger. As they approached the chamber doors, Lieutenant Commander Webb sneezed suddenly. It was a loud, explosive sound that echoed off the walls. Half the nearby delegates dropped to the floor in fear. 2 ran away completely. Webb looked embarrassed. Sorry, he said. Allergies. Something in the air here. It is fine, Zelthar said, though his lights were flickering rapidly. Perfectly fine. But as the massive doors opened to reveal the full Galactic Council waiting inside, Zelthar wondered if anything would ever be fine again. The humans were here and everything was about to change. He just hoped they all survived whatever came next. The council chamber was the largest room on the station. It rose up in rings like an amphitheater, with each species having their own designated section. Hundreds of beings of every imaginable shape and size stared down at the center platform, where Ambassador Sarah Chen now stood. Zelthar watched from his diplomatic station as Sarah adjusted the presentation equipment with ease. Her technical officer, Yuki, had interfaced their Earth systems with the Council's computers in minutes. The humans were efficient, he had to give them that. Honorable Council members, Sarah began, her voice amplified across the massive space. Thank you for allowing us to present our case for membership. Earth and humanity are eager to join the galactic community. Polite words, friendly tone. But Zelthar noticed that Marcus Webb stood at attention near the exit, his eyes constantly scanning the room. The other humans were relaxed but alert. Always alert. Let me tell you about Earth, Sarah said, and activated the display. A beautiful blue and green planet appeared, rotating slowly. It looked peaceful from space. Zelthar heard appreciative murmurs from the crowd. Earth is our home, Sarah continued. A diverse world with many climates and ecosystems. We have jungles, deserts, oceans, and polar ice caps. 7 continents, countless islands, and over 8 billion humans. The image changed to show Earth's surface, mountains that reached incredible heights, oceans that looked impossibly deep, storms that covered entire regions. Your world appears quite volatile, observed a council member from the seismic-sensitive species. Oh, it is, Sarah said cheerfully. We have earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and extreme temperature variations. Winter in some regions can reach -40 degrees. Summer can exceed 50 degrees. She said this as if it were normal. The council members exchanged worried looks. These temperature ranges would kill most of them. But we adapt, Sarah continued. Humans are remarkably adaptable. We live in every environment on Earth, from the hottest deserts to the frozen poles. The presentation continued. Sarah showed images of human civilization, cities that rose high into the sky, technology that seemed advanced for such a young species, art, music, literature. It was impressive. Then the presentation shifted to human history, and things became concerning. Humanity has not always been peaceful, Sarah admitted. She showed images of ancient warfare, humans fighting with primitive weapons, then more modern conflicts, explosions, destruction, weapons that could level entire cities. We have had our dark times, Sarah said. Her voice was serious now. We have fought wars, many wars. In the 20th century alone, we had 2 world wars that killed millions. We developed nuclear weapons capable of destroying our own planet. The chamber erupted in shocked gasps and fearful chittering. Zelthar had known this, but seeing it presented so openly was still disturbing. But, Sarah raised her hand, we learned. We grew. We formed a unified world government after our 3rd and final world war 50 years ago. We chose peace over destruction. We chose cooperation over conflict. You have only had 3 world wars? Someone shouted from the upper levels. That is supposed to comfort us? Sarah looked confused. Well, yes. We have been at peace for 50 years now. That is quite good for us. 50 years of peace. The Council had enjoyed 2,000 years. The comparison was not favorable. Tell us about human values, Zelthar interjected, trying to steer the presentation to safer ground. Of course, Sarah said, smiling again. Teeth again. Humans value many things. Determination is important to us. We believe in never giving up, no matter how difficult things become. We have a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Dr. Okafor stepped forward. We also value loyalty and family. Humans are social creatures. We form strong bonds with our communities, our friends, and our families. We will fight to protect those we care about. Fight. There was that word again. Zelthar noticed several delegates were taking notes, probably marking it as another threat indicator. We believe in justice, James O'Brien added, standing up for what is right even when it is hard. Protecting the weak from the strong. Marcus Webb nodded. Once a human decides you are friend, they will stand with you against anything. We do not abandon our allies. These all sounded like positive traits to the humans. To the Council, it sounded like a description of a warrior culture that bonded into packs and never stopped fighting for their chosen causes. Perhaps we could see examples of human culture, suggested Zelthar desperately. Absolutely. Sarah brightened and changed the display. Here are some of our most popular forms of entertainment. The screen showed humans engaged in various sports. In one, large humans in armor crashed into each other repeatedly, fighting over an odd-shaped ball. In another, humans punched and kicked each other in a ring while crowds cheered. In a third, humans raced vehicles at deadly speeds, sometimes crashing spectacularly. These are your entertainment? Asked a horrified Voxian. Sport, Sarah explained. We love competition. These are football, mixed martial arts, and racing. Perfectly safe with proper equipment. Those humans are hitting each other. Well, yes. That is the point of MMA. It is a test of skill and strength. For entertainment? Exactly. The Council was silent with shock. Sarah, not noticing, continued enthusiastically. We also love extreme sports. Skydiving, where we jump from aircraft and fall for fun. Rock climbing without ropes. Surfing in dangerous waters. We even have something called parkour, where people jump between buildings. Each new revelation made things worse. Yuki helpfully added, humans have a strong need for adrenaline. It is a chemical our bodies produce during dangerous situations. Some humans actively seek danger because they enjoy the feeling. You enjoy danger? Zelthar could not believe what he was hearing. Some of us, yes, Yuki said. It makes us feel alive. The presentation moved to human media. Sarah showed clips from popular movies and shows. There were action films with explosions, horror movies with monsters, dramas about crime and violence. Even the comedies seemed to involve someone getting hurt for laughs. Human children watch these? Asked someone. Starting from about age 7 for the mild ones, Sarah confirmed. We have rating systems, of course. But yes, humans grow up with stories about conflict, monsters, heroes, and villains. It is how we teach our values. What about your planet's biodiversity? Zelthar asked, hoping this topic would be safer. Sarah's face lit up. Oh, Earth has incredible biodiversity. Let me show you. The screen filled with images of Earth's wildlife. First, the humans showed beautiful birds, colorful fish, and peaceful herbivores. The Council relaxed slightly. Then came the predators, massive sharks with rows of razor teeth, bears that stood 3 meters tall, great cats that could run at incredible speeds, crocodiles with jaws that could crush bone, venomous snakes, spiders, and scorpions. Wolves that hunted in packs, these all live on your world? Someone asked weakly. Oh yes, Sarah said proudly. Earth has apex predators in every major ecosystem. And humans, she grinned. We swim in the same oceans as the sharks. We hike in bear country. We film these animals up close for nature documentaries. You approach them voluntarily. Of course. They are magnificent creatures. Dangerous, yes, but beautiful. We work hard to protect them from extinction. You protect the predators? This concept seemed to break several council members' brains. They are part of our ecosystem, Yuki explained. Without predators, the ecosystem collapses. We learned that the hard way. Now we actively work to preserve them. Marcus added, some humans even keep them as pets. Not the sharks, obviously, but I had a friend who raised wolves. The chamber was silent. Even Zelthar did not know what to say anymore. These humans were proud of their death world. They protected its monsters. They entertained themselves by fighting and risking their lives. They had fought 3 planet-wide wars and thought 50 years of peace was a great achievement. Perhaps, Zelthar said carefully, we could take a short break, allow the council to process this information. Of course, Sarah said, looking around at the stunned faces. She seemed genuinely confused by their reaction. Did I say something wrong? No, Zelthar lied. You have been very informative. As the council filed out for the break, Zelthar heard the panicked conversations beginning. Several members were already calling for an immediate vote to deny Earth's application. Others wanted to quarantine the entire sector. A few, the ones who had fainted or run away, had already left the station entirely. Sarah and her team stood on the central platform looking confused and a bit hurt. They had clearly prepared this presentation carefully. They had tried to be open and honest. They just did not understand how terrifying they appeared. Zelthar approached them carefully. Ambassador Chen, perhaps we should discuss your presentation before we resume. Did we do something wrong? Sarah asked, and she sounded genuinely concerned. Not wrong exactly, Zelthar said, but perhaps we need to help you understand how the council perceives certain information. Sarah looked at her team. They all looked back with equal confusion. These humans, for all their danger and power, seemed almost innocent in their lack of understanding. This, Zelthar thought, might be the most frightening thing yet. The reception hall had been prepared with great care. Tables held foods from dozens of worlds, carefully arranged to avoid any cross-contamination between species with different atmospheric or nutritional needs. Soft music played from hovering speakers. The lighting was kept at comfortable levels for all species' various visual ranges. But no amount of preparation could hide the fear. The reception was meant to be a casual gathering where council members could meet the humans informally, ask questions, and build friendship. Instead, most delegates stood in small clusters as far from the humans as possible, watching them like prey animals watching a predator. Sarah Chen stood near the center of the room, holding a glass of water and looking increasingly uncomfortable. Her team surrounded her in their usual protective formation, which only made things worse. Zelthar observed from his position near the doorway, trying to think of ways to salvage this disaster. The presentation had gone poorly. The break had been filled with emergency meetings and panicked discussions. Several council members had already voted to deny humanity's application. Others wanted to wait and learn more. The council was divided. Perhaps I should try to facilitate introductions, Zelthar said to his assistant, a small piffin named Kip. Are you sure that is wise? Kip asked nervously. They might eat someone. They are not going to eat anyone, Zelthar said, though his lights flickered uncertainly. They are sapient beings seeking friendship. We must try. He approached the human delegation. As he drew near, all 5 humans turned to face him simultaneously. The coordinated movement was unnerving. Ambassador Chen, Zelthar said. Perhaps I could introduce you to some of our council members? Sarah's face brightened. That would be wonderful. We would love to meet everyone. Zelthar gestured to a nearby group of Voxians. The tentacled beings looked like they wanted to flee, but diplomatic duty held them in place. Ambassador Chen, may I present the Voxian delegation? They represent one of our oldest member species. Sarah stepped forward, and the Voxian stepped back. She did not seem to notice, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. It is an honor to meet you, Sarah said warmly. The lead Voxian, elderly and covered in ceremonial markings, cautiously reached out a tentacle. Sarah grasped it firmly and shook it up and down. The Voxian's eyes widened at the strength of her grip. Your species has a fascinating history, Sarah continued. I read that you communicate partially through color changes in your skin. That is beautiful. The Voxian relaxed slightly, flattered by the interest. Yes, our language is complex. Your translators capture the verbal component but miss the visual nuances. I would love to learn more, Sarah said sincerely. For a moment, it seemed like genuine connection was forming. Then a small rabbit-like alien bumped into Marcus Webb while backing away nervously from another human. Marcus reflexively reached out and caught the small being before they could fall. "Whoa there, little buddy," Marcus said, steadying them gently. "You okay?" The rabbit alien looked up at the massive human holding them. Their eyes met Marcus's forward-facing predator gaze. They saw his size, his strength, his casual power. The alien went completely limp and fainted. Marcus looked panicked. "Did I hurt them? I barely touched them." A medical officer rushed over with a scanner. "They have just fainted from fear. They will be fine." Marcus carefully set the unconscious alien down, looking genuinely distressed. "I am so sorry. I was just trying to help." The incident drew everyone's attention. The nervous energy in the room increased. Zelthar tried to salvage the situation. "Perhaps we could continue with introductions," he suggested. Dr. Amara Okafor stepped forward, her expression kind. She approached a group of plant-based life forms who seemed less terrified than most others. "Hello," Amara said softly. "I am Amara. I am a xenobiologist. Your species' photosynthetic process is fascinating. On Earth, we only have plants that use photosynthesis, not sapient beings." The plant beings seemed intrigued despite their fear. "You have studied our biology?" "As much as I could from available data," Amara said. "I hope to learn more. Would you be willing to share?" They began a halting conversation about biology. Zelthar felt a spark of hope. Maybe this could work. Then James O'Brien laughed at something Yuki said. It was a genuine, joyful laugh, loud and booming. Several nearby delegates dropped to the floor and covered their heads. Others ran for the exits. James looked around in confusion. What did I do?" "Your vocalization," explained a trembling harmonic. "So loud, so aggressive." "I was just laughing," James said, bewildered. Zelthar decided to try a different approach. "Ambassador Chen, perhaps you could tell us about human family structures? That seems like a safe topic." Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "Humans typically form family units. We raise our children for about 18 years before they are considered adults. During that time, parents teach them, protect them, and love them." 18 years? Asked Epiphany. "Our young are independent after 6 months. Human children are vulnerable for a long time," Sarah explained, "so we are very protective of them. There is a saying on Earth, the most dangerous thing in the world is a parent protecting their child." Several council members made notes. Another threat indicator. "What do human children do for entertainment?" asked someone cautiously. Sarah smiled. "Oh, many things. They play games, often pretend games where they act out stories. They play fight with each other. They love stories about heroes and monsters. They play sports. They climb trees and explore. Human children are very energetic and curious." "Play fight?" "Yes, roughhousing. Gentle fighting for fun. It is how they learn physical boundaries and develop coordination." The idea of children fighting for entertainment seemed to disturb everyone. Yuki tried to help. "It is an important developmental stage. Human children need physical activity and play. It is how we learn." This did not help. Marcus decided to share. "I have a nephew. He is 5 years old. His favorite game is dinosaurs. He pretends to be a T-Rex and chases his friends around making roaring sounds." "Dinosaurs?" asked Zelthar, though he already regretted it. "Extinct reptiles that lived on Earth millions of years ago," Marcus explained. "Some were massive predators with huge teeth. Kids loved them. Of course they did. Human children pretended to be ancient predators for fun." Dr. Okafor added, "Human children also love to ask questions constantly. Why is their favorite word? They want to understand everything. That sounds curious, not aggressive, ventured a brave council member. Oh, humans are very curious, Amara agreed. Sometimes too curious. We have had to put warning labels on dangerous things because humans will try them anyway. We have a phrase, curiosity killed the cat. You have a saying about killing? Someone asked weakly. It is just an expression, Amara said quickly. It means curiosity can lead to danger. James tried to lighten the mood. Humans just love to explore and try new things. It is in our nature. When we see a mountain, we want to climb it. When we see a cave, we want to explore it. When we see space, we want to travel it. What if the mountain is dangerous? Asked a logical Trill. Then we climb it carefully, James said with a grin. Sometimes the danger makes it more interesting. The Trill had no response to this madness. Sarah tried another topic. Humans also love music and dancing. Perhaps we could demonstrate? Before Zelthar could stop her, Sarah activated her personal device. Music began playing. It was loud, with a heavy beat. Sarah began moving to the rhythm, swaying and stepping in patterns. To human eyes, it was dancing. To council eyes, it looked like some kind of combat preparation ritual. The rhythmic movements, the stomping feet, the raised arms. Several delegates fled the room entirely. This is a traditional human courtship dance called salsa, Sarah said, still moving. It is from Earth's Caribbean region. Courtship rituals that looked like fighting. Of course. Zelthar noticed that Marcus had moved closer to Sarah, maintaining his protective position even during recreation. These humans were always on guard, always aware, always ready. Perhaps we should end the reception, Zelthar suggested quietly. Sarah stopped dancing, finally noticing that most of the room had emptied. Her face fell. We scared them, didn't we? She asked softly. You did not intend to, Zelthar said. That is clear. But yes, Ambassador, you terrify them. Sarah looked at her team. They all looked back with similar expressions of sadness and confusion. They had tried so hard. They had been friendly, open, and honest. And they had failed completely. What do we do now? Sarah asked. I do not know, Zelthar admitted. An emergency council session has been called. They will vote on your application within the hour. Will they say no? Marcus asked. Zelthar's lights dimmed. Almost certainly. The humans stood together, their protective formation tighter now. Not threatening, just seeking comfort from each other. In that moment, they looked less like predators and more like lost children far from home. Zelthar made a decision. Come with me, he said. Before the vote, there is something I need to check. Zelthar led the humans to his private office, away from the chaos of the emergency council session. He could hear the shouting through the walls. The council was tearing itself apart over the human question. Some demanded immediate rejection. Others argued for quarantine. A few insisted that killing the humans would be merciful compared to what might happen if humanity felt insulted. Sarah and her team sat in Zelthar's office, looking miserable. Marcus stood by the door, still maintaining his protective stance even in defeat. Yuki stared at her hands. James looked like he might cry. Amara kept apologizing quietly. Sarah sat perfectly still, her military training showing through. I do not understand, Sarah said finally. We tried so hard to be friendly. I know, Zelthar said. His lights pulsed with thought. That is what troubles me most. You are being friendly. This is your normal behavior. He pulled up his computer console and began searching through the files humanity had provided with their application. Medical records, psychological profiles, cultural data. There had to be something he was missing. Tell me, Zelthar said, still searching. Why did you become a diplomat, Ambassador Chen? Sarah looked surprised by the question. I wanted to help people, to build bridges between different groups. I grew up during the Unification Wars. I saw what hatred and fear could do. I wanted to create something better. And you, Lieutenant Commander Webb, why did you join the military? Marcus straightened. To protect people, sir. My father was killed in a disaster when I was young. The rescue workers who saved my family were heroes to me. I wanted to be someone who stands between danger and innocent people. Zelthar felt something click in his mind. He dug deeper into the files. Dr. Tanaka, what drives your research? Yuki smiled softly. Curiosity, but also hope. I study alien life because I believe understanding others makes us better. Every new discovery is a chance to learn, to grow, to connect. Communications Officer O'Brien? James grinned despite the situation. I love stories, sir. Every species has stories. I wanted to learn them all, to share them. Stories connect people across any distance, Dr. Okafor. Amara's voice was gentle. I study biology because all life is precious. Understanding how different beings live helps us protect them. Preserve them. Celebrate them. Zelthar stopped searching. He stared at the psychological profiles on his screen. There it was. Hidden in the medical data. Human brain structures. Large sections dedicated to something the translator rendered as empathy and social bonding. You are pack hunters, Zelthar said slowly. But you do not hunt alone. You hunt together. And your bond with your pack is everything to you. Well, yes, Sarah said. Humans are social animals. We need each other. Zelthar pulled up more data. Stories from Earth's history. Humans running into burning buildings to save strangers. Humans diving into dangerous water to rescue drowning people. Humans giving their own food to hungry children they had never met. Humans crying over fictional characters and stories. Humans adopting orphaned animals from different species and raising them as family. Your medical files indicate humans have an unusually strong emotional response to others in distress, Zelthar said. You feel others' pain almost as if it were your own. Empathy, Amara said. Yes, humans are highly empathetic. It is one of our defining traits. Zelthar's lights began to glow brighter as understanding dawned. You befriend predators not because you are foolish, but because you see them as individuals deserving of love. You protect your pack not because you are violent, but because you cannot bear to see them hurt. You never surrender not because you are aggressive, but because giving up means abandoning those you love. The humans looked at each other, confused by Zelthar's sudden excitement. You are predators, Zelthar said, his voice rising. Yes, but you are also the most protective species I have ever encountered. Every trait that makes you dangerous also makes you the perfect defenders. Sir? Marcus asked. Zelthar spun to face them fully. When you said humans will stand by their allies against anything, you meant it literally. When you said you protect the weak, you were not speaking metaphorically. When you said you never abandon your pack, you were stating biological fact. Sarah stood up slowly. You understand? I am beginning to, Zelthar said. He made a decision. Ambassador Chen, may I ask you a direct question? Are humans dangerous? Sarah met his gaze steadily. Yes, we are very dangerous, but only to those who threaten the people we care about. To our friends, we would die first before letting harm come to them. The simple honesty of her answer struck Zelthar like a physical force. This was the truth he had been searching for. Humans were dangerous, but they were dangerous in defense, not aggression. Come with me, Zelthar said urgently. Right now. The council is about to vote. They rushed through the corridors back to the council chamber. Zelthar burst through the doors, interrupting the heated debate. Wait, he called out. Wait before you vote. I have new information. The council fell silent. Hundreds of eyes, cameras and sensors focused on him. I have reviewed the human psychological data thoroughly, Zelthar announced. And I have spoken with the humans at length. I believe we have all misunderstood what we are seeing. They are predators, someone shouted. Dangerous predators. Yes, Zelthar agreed. They are. But let me ask you all a question. What is the most dangerous creature on your homeworld? There were murmurs. Species called out various predators from their home planets. All were feared and avoided. Now let me ask another question, Zelthar continued. What would you do if that dangerous creature stood between your children and a greater threat? Would you still fear it? Or would you be grateful for its protection? The chamber went quiet. Humans are guard animals, Zelthar said simply. They are the dog protecting the sheep from wolves. They are dangerous, yes, but that danger is directed outward at threats, not inward at those they protect. Sarah stepped forward. May I speak? Zelthar nodded. I understand your fear, Sarah said to the council. We did not realize how terrifying we appear. On Earth, we are used to predators. We evolved alongside them. We learned to live with them, even love them. But I promise you this, humanity seeks only friendship. We want to learn from you, to share with you, to stand beside you, and if you ever face danger, We will stand between you and that danger with everything we have." Before anyone could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed. A computerized voice announced, "Security alert. Multiple hostile vessels detected entering the system. Unidentified raiders approaching outer colonies." Panic erupted. The Council had no military. They had never needed one. They had nothing but strongly worded diplomatic protests against raiders and pirates. Marcus Webb was already moving. How many ships? A security officer pulled up the data with shaking hands. 7 vessels. Heavily armed. They are heading for the civilian mining colony on the 3rd moon. "How many civilians?" Sarah asked, her voice sharp and focused. 3,000. Mostly families. "They have no defenses." Sarah turned to her team. Their casual friendliness had vanished, replaced by cold professional focus. Webb, tactical assessment. Tanaka, scan their ships and find weaknesses. O'Brien, open a channel to the Indomitable. Okafor, coordinate with local security. They moved as one, each knowing their role perfectly. Within seconds, they had commandeered a security station and were working at incredible speed. "Our ship can handle 7 raiders," Marcus reported. "We have weapons. We have training. We can intercept them before they reach the colony." Sarah turned to face the Council. "Permission to defend your people?" The Council members stared. These predators, these terrifying humans, were asking permission to fight, to protect strangers they had just met, to risk their lives for people who had done nothing but fear them. "You would do this?" Zelthar asked quietly. "Even after how we have treated you?" Sarah's expression was fierce and determined. "You asked what humans are. This is what we are. Point us at the danger and get everyone else to safety. That is what we do." The Council voted in seconds. Unanimous approval. Permission granted. The humans ran for their ship, moving with purpose and coordination. Within minutes, the Indomitable launched, accelerating at speeds that made the Council's ships look slow. They watched on monitors as the human vessel intercepted the raiders. The battle was short. The raiders had never faced anything like humans before. The Indomitable fought with precision and power, disabling ships without destroying them, minimizing casualties even among the enemy. When it was over, all 7 raider ships were captured and the colony was safe. The humans had not lost a single person. When Sarah and her team returned to the station, something had changed. Council members did not run away. They approached, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. "You saved them," Epiphany said wonderingly. "You barely know us, and you saved our people." Sarah smiled, and for the first time the Council did not see teeth. They saw warmth. That is what friends do. The vote for humanity's membership was unanimous, but with a special designation. Humanity would not just be members. They would be protectors, defenders of the Council, the shield that stood between the peaceful species and the dangers of the galaxy. As Zelthar formally welcomed humanity to the Galactic Council,